All right, welcome to art class, everyone. Violet, are you ready? You've already gotten started, haven't you? Okay, so today we're just going to be learning some really basic watercolor techniques. And the main thing that I want to make sure that you know is that there's really no right or wrong here. There are techniques that we can learn to make things easier, to make things look more the way you want them to, but the important thing is that to remember is that watercolors are fun. So we are just doing this for fun, aren't we, Violet?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. What are you painting?
Ivy Lou.
Ivy Lou. Okay, so if you don't have your supplies out already, just go ahead and pause the video and grab what you need. You do not need anything fancy. The only thing you need for watercolors is some watercolor paper. So this is a thick, textured paper. The reason why we don't use just regular printer paper is because the water there would be nothing for the water to absorb into. So you do have to have watercolor paper, but it does not have to be anything fancy. Whatever you have on hand. I am using today this Strathmore palette. It looks like this. You can get it at Michael's or online, anywhere that you buy your craft supplies. So grab some watercolor paper and then also grab your paint palette or your actual paints. So you can actually use watercolors that come in a little tube. I use those sometimes. You can also use a travel kit like this. I love this one. It's really tiny and it came with a really tiny brush that's perfect for hand lettering words, and anyway, just it's the perfect little size here. And then I also have this paint palette, which I think costs about $5. It's nothing fancy, but it works great. So we'll start with that, and then it's also nice to have a painter's palette. This is just a little plastic painter's palette. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and just pick whichever one you would like. And this is where we will mix the colors that we want. And this, for watercolors, this has a lot of dried paints, as you can see, except this one I just wet a minute ago. But this, I kind of like to keep it like this because then I reuse, instead of cleaning it off every time, I'll just put the colors that I want into the color that matches it and kind of reuse that paint. So I'll show you that in a minute here once we get started.
I'm using both.
I see that. You also need, what else do they need, Violet? What else do we need when we do watercolors?
Water.
That's right. Can I borrow this?
Here.
Okay, so you need some water. Violet's already gotten started, so we have purple water here. I love the way the water looks once you start doing watercolors. It's so pretty. Just be careful not to accidentally drink it, which I have almost done before whenever I've painted with tea and watercolors. Okay, so yes, you will need water, a little jar of water. We have 2 here. You can do that if you want to have a place to rinse your brush really well, but 1 will do just fine. And then you also need a little paper towel, you can see here, where you will dab off any excess water. Okay, so that's all you need. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So the first thing you need to do is wet your brush. This is one technique I'm going to show you. If you want to wet your brush and then select the color on your palette that you want to use, I'm going to take this pinky fuchsia color here.
I'm using even more paintbrushes.
Great. Now you technically don't need a palette. If you don't have a palette, you don't have to use one. You can also use the lid. If you have a lid like this for your paint kit, then that works just as well too. So this is just to kind of, it helps you decide how much water you actually need, and that's kind of the tricky part of watercolor. That's maybe the hardest part. It's just figuring out how much water you need, and don't worry about it too much in the beginning. The best way to learn how much water you need is just practice. So I'm going to show you here what this looks like. So this is a very watery color here. See how there's lots of water in there? Now I could also do where I go like this, where I get a lot of the pink and I don't even put it in my palette. My brush is already wet, but I'm not going to mix it in here because that would just water it down more. I'm just going directly from the palette to the paper. And now look at that. Look how rich and saturated, that's the word, we use when it's not watered down like this. Look at that, and look, so I used the same color. I didn't do any mixing. I just used the same color on the paint palette to create both of these colors. So this is where we are just experimenting and having fun, getting a feel for our tools. And I'm gonna show you another technique. So instead of, what I'm doing right now is rinsing off my brush. And it's okay, the water looks really dirty, but it works. So I'm just cleaning off my brush. So this is wet, it doesn't have any color on it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to not dip this into a paint color right now. I'm just gonna put some water on my paper like this. Okay, so it's a little bit purpley because the water I just dipped it in was a little bit purpley. Now I'm gonna dip it back in to my paint, and I'm going to pick a color from my palette. Violet, what color should I pick?
Blue.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Okay, so I'm gonna go for this blue here. I'm just gonna get a little bit on my brush, and I'm gonna put it right here where I just put the water. Watch what it does. Look at that. Isn't that cool?
Yes, it is very cool.
So the paint is being absorbed by the water and it's spreading it. So this is the wet paper technique, where you wet the paper with clear water and then you add this, and look at it, it just looks like it's swimming around in an ocean. I love it.
Me too.
So we're just taking notes here. We're just observing, just seeing how these things work, and then when we start painting a picture, we will have more skills in our tool belt to know what to do. Okay, so there we are. Let's try that again with a different color just to get another feel for it. Violet, what color should we use now?
Purple is a good color to use next.
Okay, purple is a great color. All right, so I'm gonna choose this color here.
So I'm gonna choose this color here.
Okay. All right, so I've wet my paper. I'm gonna add this in here.
I'm gonna use a lid.
Okay, that's a great idea.
And then mix it in some green.
All right, now here we're gonna get a little bit fancier. So we just did the same thing here. We just did a little brush of water on the page, but now let's try something a little bit different. We are going to do a shape. So I'm gonna do a heart here. And I'm just taking the clear water and I'm painting a clear heart. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm gonna fill it in just like this.
I can't see the heart.
You can't?
No.
Well, wait, it's kind of like magic. You're gonna be able to see it in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to pick, what color should we pick for our heart, Violet?
Pink.
Pink, okay. I'm gonna do this color pink here.
And I'm gonna get another paintbrush here.
Okay, so we're getting a lot of paint on the brush. You wanna rub it in gently, but just make sure that both sides of the paintbrush have a lot of paint. And you're gonna go back to the heart. And we're gonna dip it in here. Now, watch this. The paint that we're putting in here does not go outside the water line. So be sure to keep your brush inside the shape that you just made. But when it's kind of swimming around in here, it's not gonna go outside the water line.
Now I can see the heart.
Yes, now you can see it. Violet, do you want to try this on your paper? Draw a clear, paint a clear shape, or whatever you want. A flower, a house, a tree, whatever you want. All right. So there we go. So that's another technique that we can do if you want to, if you're painting something specific, you can do it like this, where you start with the clear, or you can do it the way we did over here, where you don't put any water on the page first. You just have a wet brush and you dip it in there. Okay, so now that we've learned a few of these things, I want to show you something else that's really helpful when you're watercoloring. So I'm gonna move this over here. I'm gonna get a smaller piece of paper.
I did it.
That looks great, Violet. Here, let me show, put this in the camera. Here's Violet's heart that she just did using that same technique. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, if you have some washi tape, And actually, regular tape works pretty well too. Just regular Scotch clear tape works
I need
too.
another paintbrush. Oh, shit.
Hey, Violet, don't take any more paintbrushes, babe. We have plenty over here. Yeah,
Okay.
we have all of these. I think we're good. You really only need 1 or 2, maybe 3 paintbrushes. Okay, so I'm gonna take this washi tape and I'm gonna create a border. So we're trying to create a border here once everything is painted. So see how there's half on the table and half on the paper? That's what we're going for. So this is just one way to make your watercolors look extra special when you're done. Now, you might be wondering, you might have questions right now. Just trust that this is gonna make it look really cool when we're done. And then I'll show you, once it dries, we'll take off the tape and you will see the neat effect this has. Okay, so here we go. All right, so I'm gonna show you, let's see. We're gonna do something kind of abstract. Violet, do you know what abstract means?
No, I don't.
Okay. Abstract it means that you're not painting anything very specific. You're not painting like hearts or flowers. You're not painting a scene. We're just gonna have fun with colors, which is one of my favorite things to do. I love colors. So what you need to do if you're painting abstract, really when you're painting anything, just pick the colors that make you smile, that make you happy. This is different for everybody. So my favorite color is pink. Violet, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Yeah. And what's Daddy's favorite color?
Black is his favorite color.
Yes, which I don't really understand, but you know what? Everybody is different, and that is great. The world would be pretty boring if we were all the same. So I'm gonna pick my favorite colors. You pick your favorite colors. And all I'm gonna do is paint some stripes.
I'm going to paint all of my favorite colors
Okay.
because I'm painting all of my favorite colors on the bookmark.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm dipping in my brush in the orange right here, and I'm gonna come over here, have a little bit of orange on my paint palette. So I'm just kind of swirling it around, getting the right ratio of water and paint. And then I'm gonna come here and paint this stripe here. That is just really fun. All right, so I'm gonna do some rainbow colors today because I have rainbows on my mind right now. And you might too, because...
I don't have any rainbows on my mind right now.
You don't? Well, that's okay. You might have seen a lot of rainbows lately on people's windows, outside.
I haven't seen a rainbow outside before.
You haven't? You've never seen a real rainbow?
No.
Are you sure? I think we have one time, maybe a long time ago.
Probably, but I haven't seen one in my whole life.
Okay. Well, rainbows that are real rainbows outside are some of the most beautiful things in all of creation, huh? Okay, Violet, what comes after red, orange, yellow on a rainbow?
Green does.
That's right. Green, red, orange, yellow, green. What comes next?
Blue comes next.
I'm gonna do this pretty light blue.
Next comes indigo.
After blue, red, orange, yellow, green, blue. You're right, indigo. Indigo is a really dark blue, so we will get the darkest blue that I have here on the palette. Blue. And be sure when you have your paper painted down like this, be sure to go all the way to the tape. You can even go over the tape a little bit. That's going to make the final picture look extra neat. Okay. And then the last color of a rainbow is, what is it, Violet?
Violet.
That's right. That's easy for you to remember, huh? Okay, so we're gonna do indigo and then violet all the way to the end here. Okay, and I think I'm gonna go back, so we still have some space on the paper, so I'm gonna do this dark blue again and reverse the pattern. So I'll do blue and then, or indigo I mean. Uh-oh, Violet, did you drop your brush? Can you pick that up, please?
Oh.
We'll do a light blue.
Mommy?
Yes.
Is this paper for watercolors too?
Oh yeah, you can use that one.
Okay. Some paintbrushes look different and some don't.
That's right. They're all different kinds of brushes, huh?
Yes. We have all
Okay.
these two here.
I don't know if you can see this last stripe going down here, but we're gonna do yellow.
We are going to do this and see the gray paintbrush right here. Because this, so I don't know if you can see this, but it's clearly enough to see.
Okay, so there's that. All right, so here we go. Here we have our painting, and I'm gonna let that dry here for a minute. Looks like some paint got dropped on here, but that is okay. I actually kind of think that looks neat. So with watercolors, they don't always go exactly how you planned, and that is part of the fun of watercolors, is that you don't really know where things are gonna end up when you start. But that is okay. You also might have a plan for how you think your watercolor is going to turn out, and then it doesn't look like that at all, and you kind of have to learn to have a new perspective when you do art, and that is just something that's great to learn in all areas of life. So I'm okay with those little dots there. In fact, when this dries, I might even add some more to make it look more purposeful. So this will just take a second here to dry. I'm gonna give that a minute. Okay, so now that this is dry, here's something that I really like to do. I have this white gel pen here. If you have a white pen or even a white colored pencil, maybe even a white crayon, you could try that too. But now that this is dry, it's really important to make sure that your watercolor is dry before you do this. You can add, let's see, oh, there we go. You can add things over the colors. This one doesn't seem to be working very well. There we go. It's very, very subtle. You can barely see it. But look, this kind of looks like sprinkles, which I think is really fun. So you can have fun with this just to add some brightness. And you can also use a white pen to write something if you have a favorite quote or favorite anything. Or if you just want to write your name, you can write. Or if you wanted to write, use this as a note to a friend or a grandparent or a cousin or an aunt or uncle. You could write something on these lines too and just make it a really beautiful little note to somebody that you love. So I'm just doing that because I really like white on top of these pretty colors. Okay, and then because I have these little dots here, I was not planning on that, but now that they're here, I'm gonna work with it. So I'm going to wet my brush. I'm gonna come over here and get this dark blue. I'm gonna see if we can just kind of shake this off just a little bit. And I'm just kind of, you don't want to shake it too hard because you don't want to fling it too far. There we go. Just kind of flick it like this, like you're getting water off your toothbrush. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit more wet and add some down here. This is pretty fun. Also, I'm wearing an apron right now. Violet is too. I definitely recommend wearing something over your clothes. I probably should have said that a lot sooner. So maybe before you do this splattering, make sure that you have something over your clothes. Okay, so now I'm gonna let this dry, and then I will take off the tape and show you what that looks like. Okay, so now my watercolor is dry and we get to take the tape off. This part is really fun. So just do it slowly and carefully, but it shouldn't tear off any of the paper. Okay. All right, so look at that. Isn't that fun? So now it has this really nice border on it. And you can hang this on the fridge, you can send it to a friend, hang it on the wall in your room, whatever you want to do with it. So that's our painting. You can decide which way it goes. And if you want to, you can sign your name at the bottom.
Red, orange, yellow. What comes next,
I'm gonna
Mommy?
do that. Green.
I would hope you would say that.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of silly, but
There you go. That's
I
my
love it.
signature. So now we're done with that. Okay, now I'm going to show you one more really fun thing to do with
what
watercolors.
comes next?
After green, what does come next? You tell me.
Blue.
That's right. All right, so we're going to use our tape trick here again. Now, this is a small rectangle shape that I cut out. And I want you to guess what you think it could be. Violet, don't say because I know you already know. Don't you? Do you know what this is?
A bookmark.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Now we know. You're right. It's a bookmark. We've made these before for friends, haven't we?
Yes.
These are a really fun gift to give because everybody can use a bookmark. And everybody loves a homemade bookmark. So we're going to do a border just like we did on the painting. And then we are going to...
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and red, orange,
Okay.
yellow, green, blue, indigo.
Okay, so for this, I am going to do our wet paper technique. So instead of doing it like I did with the stripes, just going directly from the paint to the paper, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do water all over the paper. Now, you have to be careful with this because you don't want to put too much water. You really don't need a lot of water. You just want it to be slightly wet. If you get too much water on here, then it bends the paper and it just makes it too wet and pliable. So we just want a little bit of water. And if you get too much, you can always get a little paper towel and dab it on there to kind of soak some of the water. So this is another kind of abstract design.
Now, so I think so. I have some words in there, so I'll just do some blue.
Okay, babe. Okay, I'm gonna do blue also.
Now I need to ask.
Okay. I'm gonna do some blue dots up here. And I'm gonna go all the way to the border.
So I'm going to and start with some indigo.
Okay.
Start here.
And
And we'll start here. And also, I'm going to think like and start by with some violet. Start by with this.
so I'm gonna add some green here with the blue.
So I'm going, me too.
Okay, what are you painting, Violet? What are you painting?
Look, yes.
Oh, you're working on your striped portrait, or not a portrait. You're working on your striped painting, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of this. I'm mixing these two because this one's a little bit stronger than I want.
And I'm
This one's a
going
little
to-
bit lighter.
And now I'm going to start by some indigo.
So it's okay to mix paints if they're similar colors. You wouldn't want to do this if you're going from like pink to blue. But when they're just similar colors like that, it's okay to do
Now we're going to
a little bit of mixing within the palette.
I'm going to do a little bit of fun.
So I'm adding pink up here. I'm gonna add some pink down here.
So I'm going to have a little bit of fun with my paints.
Well, that's good. That's what you want to do with paint, huh? It should always be fun. All right, and then I think for my last color, at the very bottom here, I'm gonna use some yellow. This reminds me of a field of flowers. I don't know, what do you see when you look at this? What does this look like to you, Violet?
Now we are going to spread out the.
She's busy with her stripes. And that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna add some yellow down here.
Yes, me too.
Okay. And I think I'll do a little bit of white space up here, so I will add some yellow up here. This reminds me of the sun. Okay, so
now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try mixing up a little fun surprise.
okay, so here we go.
Here.
Now I'm going to let this dry, so I will be back in 1 minute. Okay, so here is Violet's striped painting. She had a border on hers and she just took off the tape, so this is what it looks like. Violet, do you want to write your name at the bottom?
Sure.
Okay, you do that. So mine is still drying and waiting here, blowing on it. And I think I used a little bit too much water, so it's taking a while to dry. And the paper is kind of bending a little bit, but that is okay. Now I'll just remember that for next time. So for this one though, I still really like it. And once I take the tape off and it's all dry, I can put it in between a couple of books and that will help flatten it out. All right, so my bookmark is dry. I'm gonna take off the tape here. And I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with it next to complete the bookmark. Oh, doesn't that look pretty?
Oh, can
Do you like it, Violet?
Yes. Can you? I want it to be for me.
Okay, you can have this one. All right, so here's our bookmark, and here's what you can do to make it extra special. If you have a hole punch at home, you can punch a hole in the top. And then I'm just gonna use this embroidery floss here.
I'm just going to use this frilly presser and mix up.
And put it in here. I bent it in half. Let me show you. Take this. I have 2 strings here. Fold it in half. Put your finger at the bottom of the loop here. And then
This surprise.
twist this around. It helps to get a little bit wet. And then put it through the hole like this. And then bring it forward in between this loop here. Then you pull it through. And look at that. Now we have this beautiful bookmark that you can keep for yourself, give to a friend. So Violet wants this one, so what I'm gonna do is take my pen here and I'm gonna write on it. I'm gonna write...
Oh, please write my name on it.
I will!
Wait.
To Violet.
So I'm going to write this and stick it. So
Love.
if I
Mommy. And I'm gonna write March
now
2020 here at the bottom.
this.
Okay, so there's my bookmark. What do you think?
Is good.
Hey, well, here you go, Violet. Whoopsies. That was almost a disaster. Okay, here you go.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome. Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. All right, so I think that is all for today's art class. And thank you all so much for joining me. If you want to share your beautiful picture with me, have your mom or dad post it on Instagram
You need to show my painting.
and tag me at Carrot Top Paper Shop. And I would love to see. Oh, and here's Violet. She wrote her name on the back of her portrait. Great job, Violet. Okay, that was fun, wasn't it? All right, thank you all for joining me and Violet for this art class. You all have a wonderful day. Happy painting.